Welcome back to the unpopular opinion becoming popular. My name is Yana the Heretic, and this week we are talking about Gate 60. This is the gate of limitation, the gate of acceptance of limitation, and it is residing at the very base of our foundation, at the very center of our root system, and it is a pressure. It's a pressure that we feel during the winter time when things are cold and it's really icy and we have limits to everything that we can actually do outside. Sometimes people are buried in the snow. We hear a lot about storm warnings, especially in the East Coast. I hope everyone's doing okay. So this is all about that kind of limitation. So this is in transit from January 16th to the 21st. And under the Keepers of the Wheel, which we had briefly discussed last week, the human imperative nowadays, I don't know if it's just because we're in the Aquarian age or what, but it is an imperative to solve the problem of death and find immortality. So we have all these new innovative medicines. We have our vaccines, our smart cars. We have artificial life that's trying to take off our workload. We're always just finding new ways to make shortcuts in our life, and we obviously know the heads of the future, a lot of the people that appreciate transhumanism. So we're seeing like people resistant to death a lot in this day and age, resistant to really exerting our strengths, our energy in order to do what we desire, which is a lot of the time just relaxing or watching TV. So it just it really brings forward the story of the Keepers of the Wheel, which is a story about a cult. There could be other Keepers of the Wheel, but we're going into this occult story of the Keepers of the Wheel that would feed this giant gear with a eye at the center of it, human life or a sacrifice of some type. And the people that came together were considered to be the kingpins of the age of industrialization, because that's what just had to be done. That was like their pressure to really be at the top of their game as the industrial age really hit for us as humans. So there's these external pressures that if you don't do something, if you aren't part of this like cult, then you start to like assume that, well, why not? Why don't I, just sacrifice, somebody else's life for my own? This is the type of energy that is the not self form of Gate 60, which isn't accepting the limitation, isn't accepting death. It isn't accepting that, of course my limitation came into the room. Excuse you. And going back into the Keepers of the Wheel, in the age of industrialization, or, we've seen it within today's world since, really COVID had striked. The age of vaccines, or the age of, getting your meals delivered to you, or getting your, mail delivered to you. You don't have to go outside. It's fine. So is this really what these people predicted would happen to the world? Is this like the fall that they actually thought would happen? Because I know that if you plucked somebody from that age of industrialization into this life, I'm sure they would also feel incredibly limited. Imagine that somebody, you took somebody from, you go into like a Bill and Ted adventure and you're like, yeah, like let's get this person from this day and age and plopped them in today's age, and they would feel extremely weird because they're like, there's so much that is unacceptable behavior. There's so much that doesn't contain like the arts or the battle for toughness. You don't get all these like games to show your prowess. Like, people just don't fight for things the same way anymore. Life has incredibly simplified, and we're going to be seeing this type of feeling during this transit. It's assessing your limitations, which is actually really potent. It's something that promotes self-love, because if you think about yourself, speaking from my own experience, when I'm extremely self-critical, I don't feel like I'm getting as much done, and if I had just figured out a formula to make me feeling good about myself, about all the things that I have done, perhaps it's not in the timely manner that it should be presented, at least it is getting done. So there is the possibility of this self-ease, and this is really ending our Capricorn season, and the mutation is really settling at the bottom, where we're looking at the things we're rigid about. What have we really seen limit us, like I had mentioned, from our external environment, but also things that we chose to believe, and we're sitting with that. It's like this ice that we're locked into because it is winter, and things are not melting yet. It's not Pisces season. We're not letting go of anything. We're really sitting and observing this energy, this pressure, and it sucks to wait. It fucking sucks to wait, and this is the type of thing that Gate 60s have to deal with. They have to wait, whether it's like a project that you had started with a group of people and the main person that's working with you gets sick, and this whole entire project has to be postponed, and there's no money flow. And it could be like you lied on your resume and you said that you can operate heavy machinery, but you really don't have any experience in that, and it could potentially create a hazardous outcome for you and everybody involved. This could be you just being too tall for the roller coaster, like you don't get to exert that pressure. You don't get the relief right away that you were hoping for. And these limitations can really chase you to the end, or they can be a real place to reflect on. It's like being honest with yourself, really, and also planning for things to go wrong. You know, if your project for some reason didn't work, or you didn't have money to hire a team, you know, you can like still take small steps to your goal, and you're really attempting to center your focus. You know, the fear here is the fear of death. So these people believe in a way that they're fated. You know, I had a friend growing up that always told me that, you know, every single male in his lineage died at age 50, and he's like spending all of his time like worried, biting his teeth, that for some reason like he's also going to be fated. And that's really not a place to be. You know, that's not going to help you live your life. You just have to observe the things that these people did, observe it in great detail. Maybe they had smoking habits or addictive personalities. Maybe they didn't eat right. Maybe they got exposed to certain work environments that were extremely unhealthy to be in. You know, this doesn't mean that you're ultimately going to take on these ailments. So really allowing yourself to be limited is allowing you to be aware and reflect on, hey, like, you know, I know that I'm not going to be capable of this at this time, but tomorrow maybe I'll feel better, you know, or, you know, I'll feel level in order to like really see this through. So yeah, correct timing is very important. And yeah, there is no way to really control what will happen from the decisions of these gate 60s. There's no way for them to really like see where, you know, their energy has for better or for worse inflicted upon others. It's just what happens. It's a fuel center. The fuel gets pushed out, and you know, it can seem very panicky, and usually that's the type of energy you would like to prevent. Yeah, it is so beautiful when people can actually find and articulate which priority quest has to be fulfilled, you know, or what their components are missing in their life. It really starts to make the plan cohesive. And you know, all the rest of the animals are hibernating during this time. They're just picking at crumbs. So it's not really a time to be prideful or like make long strides or just to drop a whole thing on everyone, you know, because people will probably be a little sleepy, a little bit like, what is this, you know, like, I don't have time for this. I'm trying to make it through the winter. So the question and the key to this is really observing who promotes limitation in your immediate environment. Do we take these people seriously? Why do we take these people seriously? This is potentially a time where you can choose systems like human design or astrology because you want to break free of limitations. You want to break free of, you know, the thoughts that other people have put on you, and find a different way, you know. Form just, you know, better habits. Like, if you fear death, then say, hey, I don't want to do all this other shit. I want to do what makes me happy and what makes me feel free and liberated. And I'm gonna like gauge myself towards that type of life. So you can feel like you're running out of time, but that actually can work well for you. And you can accept, your path, finally. The darkest state really is feeling sluggish, like sloth, depressed, not knowing or not caring to respond to the opportunity that is being presented to you, not appreciating it, or just taking on the wrong opportunity that doesn't fit your life at all or who you wish to become. That's really when things start to really collect this sediment and prevents you from moving forward in your life. And it is on the cross of distraction, and the cross of distraction will distract you from yourself, so you're really not hearing the message, you're really not observing the life lessons that are coming forward to you, because you're so overstimulated and feeling pressure from all these sources. So this is the last throes of our mutation. It's being able to mutate, really understand why this process matters, and it's just getting all of that residual stuff out by observation and planning the next actions. The channel of mutation is not in transit, so without gate 3, the gate of ordering, it's considered to be difficulty at the beginning. We don't really feel the quantum leap happening just yet. We can not know the door to enter. We don't know how to respond to anything wholeheartedly. Everything just feels like, confusing or potentially you're not on all the way to receive the depth of what you're asked to do. So I recommend always taking up writing and meditating and understand the rise and fall of this adrenal pressure, what's going on when it rises and you feel pressure, what's going on when you get to release this pressure. Is it correct for you? I hope you appreciate this last bit of mutation, and we're going into the questions section here. What are some famous stories that represent how pressure from external forces drive us to act at risk or without thinking? How do you still yourself in high pressure situations? Are you aware of your limits? Could you see yourself being a surgeon or an arborist or stepping into a different person's life that has a lot of immediate risk or pressure? What would you study and fund if you had the ability to go to any school or support any cause? Can you find a limitation that you act on daily? Explore the stuff that you have written off as facts. Do your research and observe. That should be all for Gate 60, my friends. Thank you for listening. I will greet you into the new year, next transit, and I will see you there.